This video is about manual files. And what that means is when you run a trace script and you see the file prep signal for M, that means manual. And that means that you have to create the trace yourself. Now, uh, another scenario where you might need to be creating the trace yourself is if the trace script does something incorrectly. And this is fairly common. So what you would do in that case is delete the cut path that the trace script created, and then you would start from scratch manually. So here's a fairly common example. Um, Circles are generally done manually, and this is because you can get a lot cleaner uh, path with the ellipse tool than you can with a trace. So what we're going to do for this sticker here, we can clearly see that this should be a circle. Is we're going to hit L for the ellipse tool, and then we're going to try and line it right up in the center as close as we can get. And then we're going to hit the Alt key, and then we're going to drag from the center, Alt and then Shift. And then we're going to get it right up to the edge. And you can see I missed here on the bottom. So all we do is we grab the corner here, we hit Shift, and we drag that out. And then we're kind of over on this side now, but it looks like the ellipse is the right shape. So we're going to nudge it with the arrow keys to line it up. So now, whenever you create a um, your own trace, the beginning of a trace, you want to have the paths that you are creating that trace. You want them to be as close to the design as you can get. Because you want to do the offset with the one of the offset scripts, whether that's O or J. And that's because you want an even offset all the way around the image. So if you were to if you were to try and manually line this up, and let's say you were to the right a bit when you from the center when you grabbed it. It might be difficult to tell that you're off center, and if you're trying to have the script go out here, then it can be off center. You always want to line the original trace up as close to the artwork as you can get. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to hit Control Alt A, and that's because this path here is not named cut. And for the other scripts to work, we need the cut path to be named cut. So the offsets will only work if the path is named cut. And how we do that is if we hit Control Alt A, that combines every path and names it cut and moves it to the bottom. And even if you have one path that will still work, it's a really quick way to rename any path cut. All right, and now we're going to hit Control Alt O for the offset. And there you have it. We have a nice, clean, even offset all the way around. So we're going to look up in the top here, and we see that there's M, there's no C, H, or S, which means that this is a standard script, which exports. So you're going to use the standard export for this file, which is T, Control Alt T. And this also means we don't have to resize ahead of time. And there we go. And so that's how you would that's how you would manually create a trace. Another way is you could use the image trace tool. So what you would do for that is you would duplicate this image, and then you would go to the image trace function, which is under Window, Image Trace, and then you would have that layer selected that you want to image trace, and then you can play with these settings. And now this is black and white, so I can just use the standard black and white trace, and then I can go preview. And then if I click ignore white, then I don't have to delete the white that would be all the way around the image trace. So now we can just do object expand to expand this image trace. And now we're going to take this path here and we're going to name it cut. So now we can run the offset on this path. So if we go Control Alt O for the offset, and then we have an offset. Now you'll notice that this offset, this file, it doesn't look super good. We got a massive peninsula coming in here, and then this is kind of all bumpy and jagged. So what we would do in this case is we could hit Control Z to undo, and then we might just put an ellipse along the outside here so we get a nice clean straight path. And then if we do that before we offset it, then we get a nice even offset all the way around the image. So we can make the ellipse tool, center, Control, or Alt Shift. Then we can pull it out. And that's actually lined up pretty good on that side. So what we can do now is we can add some points to this offset. And then we can either just delete these points or drag them in so they don't affect the rest of the file here. So now if we put this path that we just created inside of the cut path and hit Control Alt O, you can see we got a much cleaner offset. Now I'm going to run a simplify function on this to clean up some of these nodes. And we also have some acute angles in here that we want to get rid of. So we'll grab these. And you can grab multiple ones at once. And now we're going to use a live corners widget to pull those out, smooth it out. And then we got one more over here. And then the last one right here. Now this file looks pretty good, so we're going to look up here in the file prep signals in the file name, and we see that there is no H, C, or S, so this is a standard script, standard export, so we're going to hit Control Alt T, which means we don't have to resize this ahead of time either. Control Alt T. And that's how you do manual files.